Hey guys, welcome back to Tommyknocker Spices and Rubs.
I'm Tommyknocker.
And I'm Keto Chris.
Today we're going to be talking about brining. And we're going to hit this on a couple of different notes, but we're going to start with a conventional brine. You might want to write this down. We're always going to be working with units of 1 gallon.
For the rest of us, 4 liters or 4 quarts.
Right. So that kind of covers US measure, British measure, metric measure, all of those things. When we're dealing with 1 gallon, it's ice cold water. Get it as cold as you can make it. And that's for sanitation, bacterial council, that sort of stuff. We're going to work with 1 cup of kosher salt, 1 cup of brown sugar, and 1 cup of soy sauce.
On our side, the keto side, low sugar, low fat, diabetic.
Draw the line.
Not sugar.
Sugar activated gout.
Sugar activated gout, all that stuff. Again, best thing we found so far to date is erythritol. Non-GMO sourced, locally sourced around here. These guys are amazing. The grind is nice and fine comparatively to what I've found elsewhere. Also pure. We're not mixing in stevia, we're not mixing in monk fruit, we're not mixing in whatever.
No dyes.
There's no dyes. It's as clean as it comes. It's an alcohol sugar, so it does still count as a carb, but it's a non-digestible carb, and it has the lowest glycemic reaction to standard sweeteners on the shelf right now. It works amazing. I've tried, the gamut, Splenda, stevia, again, even erythritols with monk fruit and all that kind of stuff mixed in there. Some that I don't like, they don't really work great. There's something about when you use a polycol, which is your alcohol sugar, it dissolves much better in a little bit warmer water, but does the same thing as this, if not better. We've had this argument once or twice before.
There's some truth to it. There absolutely is, and I don't want to shoot our conventional spice profiles in the foot.
No, but even when we're using the conventional spice profiles, keep this in mind. We've done this for a long time, right? Me and this guy know each other a long time, been doing this a long time. We've done it this way, we've done it this way. There's been days where we've mixed the Keto-Brine and used conventional spices, and it's top shelf.
Yep.
Okay? It's something about when you're using the alcohol sugar instead of the conventional sugar in the brining process that to me just gives it that little extra edge.
That's a fact. It's the only logic I've been given is that during the cooking process, real sugars like cane sugar tend to lose their sweetness as they're cooked. The erythritol maintains its level of sweetness from beginning to end, and even though we're using the exact same measure, technically the sugar profile will not be as sweet as the erythritol keto brine.
At the end. And so after you've brined your meat, even if you're putting, like I said, the conventional seasoning on there, or any kind of seasoning on there afterwards, even if it has sugar and whatnot, that's, again, I'm not super against that or whatever. I just do find that the erythritol brine does brine, especially the fish.
Pork.
And the pork. But the fish, man, that last time we did it,
it
was honestly the best fish we've ever made. And it was conventional seasoning on Keto-Brine.
True.
And it, oh my God, over the top. Anyway.
I'm going to talk a little bit about concentrations. And that has nothing to do with focus, although I'd appreciate it if you would. When we use 1 cup of kosher, 1 cup of soy with 1 gallon or 4 liters, we end up with a saline solution of 7.5 to 8%, just slightly more saline than the ocean water. And you guys who are chemists, you could go into molarity. I don't want to go there. Let's just stick with concentrations and percentages. So when you're using a conventional brine of 7.5 to 8% saline solution, as we are here, you're going to want to have your 6 or 7 pound chicken or 3 fillets of whatever it is, salmon, trout, mahi, or pork chops. You're going to put them in there for 2 hours. Now, I've heard people say, listen,
I need to put them in longer than 2 hours. Here's the thing. I go to work every day. I'm out along. I don't have 2 hours to wait. Because here's the deal. I either got to come home from work, put it in for 2 hours, and then eat late, or I got to do it in the morning.
I have a story that I would tell. I would go to work with my brine bucket and all of my accoutrements and my thawed beef, meat, whatever, and I'd put it in the fridge and I'd time it. Okay, I'm out of here at 5. I got to start at 2:30 and all. So I would actually brine my pork chops and or fish at work, come home and set my smoker up.
I unfortunately can't do that.
I get it.
So, again, there is ways that...
Conjugate your verbs. There are ways.
Again, there are ways that you can control that. If you turn the percentage down, you can extend the time that your meat is in there.
Right. So let's say you cut the kosher salt and the soy to half volumes. Half cup salt, half cup soy, still maintaining 1 gallon or 4 liters of water. The water stays the same volume, the sugar stays the same, or the erythritol stays the same. You're cutting back the salt by half. You're now into about a 3.5% solution. What that means is you can now leave this in the brine for 10 hours and you're going to end up with the same product as if you had full concentration for 2 hours. Yeah. So full amount, 2 hours. Half amount, you can go 10 hours. Set it up, go to work, come back, you're ready to go. Okay. I've heard some people say that whenever they've smoked a turkey, whether it's for Thanksgiving or Christmas or just another special event,
tastes like ham.
It tastes like ham. It's not the smoking process that makes it taste like ham. It's the brining process.
Turn your salt down.
Back the salt off or back the length of time you've left it in. If you see a recipe that says leave your turkey in for 24 hours,
wrong.
Absolutely. So take your time.
You're going to have ham.
Yeah, you're going to have turkey that tastes like ham and you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
So recognize full salt, 2 hours, half the salt, 10 hours. So let's say you're going to go to bed at like 10 o'clock at night and you want to get this thing rolling for Christmas morning. Get it out of there by 8 in the morning, pat it dry, maybe put it in the fridge until everything else is ready to go. But 10 hours in the brine, half the salinity, it'll be perfect. You'll love it. An alternative to soy is amino liquids. It actually looks like soy and it really comes in with a really low carb count and does a good job of eliminating that.
Exactly. You do get a little bit different flavor out of it because a little different, but it is also close. Again, we're still using a cup of kosher salt and a cup of, like I said, low carb soy. The erythritol will not dissolve and react to the water the same as your conventional sugars will. And keep in mind, on your conventional side, you can use white sugar if you want. You can use...
you can use shaved molasses.
Yeah, you can also use...
cane sugar?
Cane sugar, yeah. Or, whole cane sugar or whatever. Again, found the erythritol the best. So what I've found the best is you take your gallon container. We took 4 cups out, or 1 liter, and put tepid water in a separate container. Again, you don't want it boiling hot or steaming hot. Just before that, very tepid water. And when we go through the process, erythritol first, and then your kosher salt, and then your soy. The soy is always going to dissolve very well because it's already a solution.
It'll dissipate.
And it'll dissipate into the water solution, even once you have the other stuff mixed quite easily. But again, the erythritol has to go into the tepid water first with a whisk, recommended. Go until it's done, and then add it to the water because you don't want it to be separated and not do its job properly. So we're going to get started here.
Okay.
I'm going to give Tommy his full gallon. And this, as you can see, is not the full gallon because I've replaced it with some of this stuff here. So again, to start, the erythritol is a fairly fine grind. Again, you can find it in different grinds depending on where you go. And as you can see, into the tepid water, it is actually dissolving quite quickly. If you tried this in ice cold water, you would honestly be here quite some time.
You'd end up with a slurry on the bottom, which isn't what you want.
And you'd end up with sediment on the bottom. And you want it to be fully dissolved before you introduce any meat product to it, so that you have it doing its job properly. Just because we have it handy and ready, I do like to introduce the kosher salt to the tepid water. It will help it dissolve with the temperature as well. Not really super necessary on the other side here. And again, this much salt will not dissolve super well into 1 liter of water only, or 4 cups. But once I introduce this to everything else, then it'll work out nicely.
I'm going to introduce the brown sugar to my cold water. I'm going to stir that in shortly. I'm going to add the kosher salt at the same time. The last thing to go into my brine will be the soy, because it does tend to cloud the water. You can't really tell all that well if you've actually got this dissolved.
Welcome back, guys.
So what we've done is we've actually added all components to the brine. Now we have a gallon of each. This one has the soy, kosher salt, brown sugar, and this is what your product will look like before you introduce your meats.
Tommy used brown sugar, and I used the erythritol. You can definitely tell the difference in color between the keto version and the non-keto version. Also, Tom wasn't as choosy, he just got whatever soy sauce he wanted, whatever was on sale at the time, right? Because again, it doesn't matter. And if you're not strict keto, if you're just low carb or whatever, again, keep in mind, most of this is going to end up in this and going down the sink afterwards. So it's really not that big of a deal. The sugar definitely is a deal breaker, but outside of that, you can get away, diabetics, whatever, with the higher content soy of sugars, right?
That's correct. It's incremental, because how much soy, how much salt from the soy, or how much sugar or carb from the soy is actually going to be absorbed in the flesh of the meat. Really, it's inconsequential, as Keto Chris was saying.
Yeah. So now we're absolutely 100% ready, regardless of whether you're chicken, whether you're turkey, whether you're fish, whether you're pork. Now, I will say, if you're smoking your meats, especially, when I'm brining pork, I go get custom cut nice and thick. If you don't thicken them up when you're smoking it, you end up with leather.
And I'm on the opposite side of the scale. I'll gravitate to maybe a 1/2 inch thick pork chop. I'll brine it, I'll smoke it for 2 hours, and then that becomes my world famous breakfast food. So it depends on your application. Chris is right. If you don't have the thick honking pork chops, sometimes they do get a bit dry. But I tend to smoke low and slow. I look at my smoking as if it's a flavor enhancer, as opposed to my full cooking in the smoker itself.
And keep in mind, again, you don't even have to smoke it. Like, I throw in pork chops, 1 inch thick pork chops. You brine it for a couple hours, pull it out, dust it with Tommyknocker's pork rub, and I use obviously all the keto versions of everything.
Look at that. Pork and fish rub right there.
Yeah, so again, take some of this, you brine it, you pull it out, pat your meat dry, sprinkle some of this on there, give it a few minutes, straight to the barbecue, off away you go, and you're eating to the races. Whether you're smoking, whether you're not smoking, it's going to enhance your food game.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
And one more thing. Like we say, great spices are always in season.
Yeah, great spices never go out of season.
And that's not what it says. It says great spices are always in season.
Yeah, that's what I said. Great spices never go out of season.
Man, great spices are always in season. See?
Correct. Great spices.
Always in season.
Great spices never go out of season.
Always go in season. See, you got me saying it wrong now.
See, it always goes in season.
God.
Never goes out of season. Till next time,
Always
guys.
in season.
We'll be back with some killer recipes.